Hi everyone, and welcome to High Value Couponer. So I am here with the highly requested How I Budget video. Yes, so many of you guys commented. I mentioned doing a video like this a couple weeks ago, and so many of you commented saying I would love a budgeting video. Therefore, we are going to do a budgeting video. Honestly, I feel like this will not be the only budgeting video that I do on my channel, because there's a lot of different things we could talk about here and get more in depth with and stuff in the future. So yeah, you'll have to let me know in the comments after you watch this video. Would you like to see more budgeting stuff in the future? But today on this video, we're going to talk about how I budget my flexible expenses. These are my variable expenses. These are really the expenses that are in my control. What this is to me, every one of us got fixed expenses. Car payment, if you're renting or buying a house, insurance, that kind of stuff. Those aren't going away. There's really nothing you can do about that. Those are fixed. They're going to be there forever. What I believe is the most important part that's going to help you reach your financial goals is truly what you do with your variable expenses. What do you do with the money left over after you pay your fixed expenses? And we're going to get into this. All right, so let me give you guys a backstory about me. I'm 20. I am in school, almost done. One more year, less than a year actually, but yeah, I'll be done in next July. I work here online freelance work. And so those are my two main hustles. And I still do live at home, so I will be real. I don't have all the expenses that someone would have if they didn't live at home. So yeah, my income is variable. I will admit that. So it does fluctuate up and down. And that can be hard. That's even more so important why I budget, so that I budget worst case scenario, to be honest. So that's why I budget, because it allows me to make sure I'm in check and I'm in line with what my income's going to be. And as for debts, I don't have a lot of debts. I do have a car that I have to pay off. And then I also do have my private student loan that I had to take out with my bachelor's degree. And I'm not required to repay that right now, but I did agree to pay the interest monthly so that it doesn't accrue. And so I have been doing that, and I do have the ability to put extra on that to bring the principal down, which I am trying to do in the coming months. So that's one of the only debts. Obviously, the student loans, the big student loans, are going to come in when I graduate, 6 months after I graduate, and we'll have to start paying on those. But as of now, those are my only major debts. I love to watch the budgeting videos here on YouTube. I find them so inspiring and so helpful, and it really is what got me inspired to actually take my finances more serious. I've never really been in debt. I've never had balances out on credit cards I couldn't pay off and stuff like that. That's never been my story. But I knew that I got into a place where I was spending without thinking about it. And I would just swipe the credit card and hope for the best and hope it all ties out. And for the most part, it always did tie out. But honestly, I wasn't really thinking of long-term financial goals. I was more so just thinking of, I want this right now, so I'm going to buy it type thing. I think that's how most young people are. We start getting jobs and we just start spending because that's what we think we're supposed to do with our money, right? And we can finally buy whatever we want. So that's what we start doing, and that's what I did. So I've never been in debt, but I wasn't being mindful with my money. And if I would have kept that trend going, I might have ended up in debt. We don't know that. But a few months ago, I found some YouTube videos, and it just really inspired me to, okay, let's see what we can do. I mean, I've always kind of made a budget, but never really stuck with it. Until a few months ago, I got really intentional. So I started watching these videos, and 99% of them preach, you need to use cash, you need to use cash. You're not going to see me using cash on this video. I don't do the cash envelopes. It's a cool idea, but my gosh, knowing me, I'd lose the envelope. I would lose it in the store. That's me. I'm always losing stuff. And so what are you going to do then if your cash is gone? And that to me is scary. I don't want that to happen. You're supposed to carry around these envelopes and write on them and stuff. And that's just not me. I don't really want to do that. And number two, this is going to flow into my next topic. I use credit. I like credit cards. And I believe as long as you are responsible and can pay them off as soon as it's due, it truly is the best way to go. And honestly, Number one, it builds credit when you pay it off immediately. I have really good credit because I always paid them off. Like I said, I always paid the credit cards off. I just wasn't mindful of how much I was spending, and I wasn't thinking for the future. But seriously, it builds credit. And number two, you get some really good perks on credit cards. Really, really good perks. Like I got a Chase card for Christmas, and it's spend $500, get a $200 credit. Oh my gosh, that's $200 of free money that I didn't have anyway. So if you use credit cards responsibly, I really believe it's the best way to go. Now, if you're not disciplined enough to pay them off and you're not going to budget out your spending on the credit cards, I don't just budget out my expenses. I budget out my spending on the credit cards. I know what I'm going to spend on the credit cards. If you can't do that, then cash is probably better for you. But for me, I can handle it on credit cards. So now I'm going to flip the camera over to my my planner where I keep all this financial stuff tracked. I'm going to show you guys what I do and break it down. All right, so now we are on my main little hub in my planner. I have several pages here I'm going to show you, but this is like the hub that outlines every single budget category, every single budgeting thing I have. So I do want to mention I get paid on a monthly basis. I get some money here and there throughout the month, but the bulk of it comes one check a month. So I do my budget on a monthly basis. So here is the first category of budget. The flexible spending. This is my monthly expenses. This resets month to month to month, and I budget out these amounts. Okay, here's what I can spend this month. So blow money. Blow money is basically if I want to buy something for myself. Let's say I'm at the mall and I see a t-shirt I want, or I'm at Walmart and I want to get some ink pens or whatever. That comes out of blow money. Whatever I want to buy for myself. Eating out, pretty self-explanatory. I want to go grab something to eat. Here's my eating out budget. Groceries, I buy groceries. I try to contribute by buying groceries at the house, so I have that budgeted. Gas, if I need to fill up my car with gas, there you go. Miscellaneous. Miscellaneous is basically random expenses that come up. Let's say I need a haircut. That comes out of miscellaneous. Here's a good example. Our meat thermometer here that we use to check the temperature in our meat, I ended up dropping it in water and broke it. So I had to go buy a new one. I budget that in miscellaneous because life happens. Things like that happen. So that is my flexible spending. All of that spending is through my Discover credit card. I charge it on Discover and I pay it off as soon as I can. I pay it off before it's due. So there's no interest. I'm just using the card to rack it up on the all the flex spending on one card. And then I pay it off. Also, my Discover card is all of my subscriptions. So like Hulu, Spotify, Disney Plus, all that comes out on my Discover card as well. Let's talk sinking funds. I never used to use sinking funds, but I heard them on those budget videos and was like, wow, this really makes sense. And don't worry, I'll show you guys examples of all this, how it actually plays out in my budget in just a second. But I want to give you guys the gist of what this is. Sinking funds. What is a sinking fund? It is basically a savings you add to every single month. And it's not like an actual savings account, but you contribute money to it every single month. Here's how I do it. I have my bank. I have two different accounts at my bank. And I don't know if this works this way at every bank, but in the app, we're allowed to make transfers between both accounts. So I get my check. I transfer that to my sinking funds account. Okay? And I contribute to it every month. So let me show you guys an example. All right, so here's the page I use for my sinking funds. You're going to see in a little bit why all these different colors make a difference. But these are my sinking funds. And basically every single month I contribute to them. And some of these I just started, which is why you're seeing lower amounts. But like my Christmas sinking fund, I've been contributing to that all year long. And when I buy a Christmas gift, I take money out, see? So I, $67.81 I spent on Christmas gifts in October. So I took that out of my sinking funds, leaving me with $197.74. But then I added $75 of sinking funds from my October check, bringing it back to $272.74. Christmas, I budget for Christmas all year long, and I buy Christmas all year long. So if I find a gift, I will buy it and take it out of my sinking funds. So see, that's what I did. I bought $67.81 worth of gifts. And so I took that out of my sinking funds. I didn't have to worry about, if I had to wait till December to do all this, there is no way I could afford Christmas. I have to budget it out all year. You can take small amounts. So here's my advice for sinking funds. Figure out how much you're going to spend in a year on a certain category and divide it by 12. that's the amount you need to be putting in your sinking funds for each category. So I do Christmas, birthdays, and anniversaries. So that way when a birthday comes up, I need to buy someone a gift, I have money in my sinking funds. $25 for health and medical. Let's say I need a copay on something like my doctor's $35. Let's just say that as an example. I have the sinking funds to pay for it instead of having to worry about it when it actually rolls around. Giving, for me, like recently a missionary came to our church and they took up an offering. And so having money in my giving fund makes it really, really easy. So I like to do that and I will contribute to that. Or like a GoFundMe pops up for somebody who needs help in their life, like who lost their house in a fire or is sick or something. I want to have money to be able to bless other people. So I'm going to have a giving sinking fund. As an online worker, we don't really get taxes pulled out on our checks. We have to basically save up, and then that is reflected when we file taxes. So I have savings for that. So I've been adding to that every single month. And then an emergency fund, I added $30 and I want to actually increase that. My emergency fund is basically, let's say last year, the battery went out on my car and I had to pay $200 for a new battery. I didn't have the money saved up. I just had to hope for the best and kind of cash flow it. And it was rough. So I want to be able to have money saved up for emergencies like that, to have emergency funds. So this is how I do my sinking funds. I have this money saved. Basically, here's how I organize this. For my sinking funds, I'm using my Chase credit card. I kind of got it split. So my flex spending's on Discover, my sinking funds are on Chase. It just makes it easier for me to know what is what and what. So whatever's charged on my Chase account, that's what needs transferred out from my sinking funds. I hope that makes sense. But the money, of course, is coming from my checking account, my sinking funds. Like I said, that's all in a separate account. So that's that. Hopefully that makes sense. Subscriptions, like I said, come out of Discover. And then couponing, you guys are probably most concerned about that. Couponing doesn't come out of my Discover account or my Chase account. I have an entirely separate card. It is not a credit card. It is a PayPal debit card for couponing. I've made a whole video talking about how great that card is. I am able to just roll my rebate money and never pay cash out of pocket for it, ever. The rebates never come out of my bank account or never come in. It's just rolled on that separate card. So I don't really have to keep track of PayPal because that's all that's on the PayPal card. So I'm able to just keep track of it right there in the PayPal app. So yeah, this is how my variable spending right here. Let me show you guys how this is put into practice. All right, so here's my monthly budget for October. I really don't feel comfortable showing all of my fixed expenses and income, so we're just going to cover that up and focus on our flexible expenses. So here's my flexible expenses. I budgeted $40 for blow money, $40 for eating out, $27 for gas, $75 for groceries, and $15 for miscellaneous. That comes to $197. Here's how I keep track of this throughout the month. So here is my October expense tracker, and I got that covered up because that's a Christmas gift for my dad. And I know he sometimes watches, and he is constantly trying to figure out what people get him for Christmas. So it's covered up. Don't want him to know that. This is my expense tracker. And this, if you don't do this, whether you do cash, credit, debit, whatever, this is the most important part. Knowing what you're actually spending. Like I said, I used to just swipe my debit card and not keep track. But now that I keep track of everything I'm spending on my cards, it makes a world of difference. So examples here. The color code, remember I showed you guys the color code in the beginning of the budget? See that? That is all reflected here. So here we go. Groceries. I have every single grocery, Kroger, Dollar Tree, Big Lots. I keep track of all of it here on my expense sheet. So I put the date that the transaction occurred, where the transaction occurred, how much was the transaction, what's the category, what I tendered, what was the tender, Discover or Chase, and then what is my balance remaining in the category. So let me give you an example. Like here, Kroger, I started with $75 in my grocery budget. I spent $21.08. I used my Discover card. I have $53.92 left, and that just runs the whole month. And you're like, well, how do you know? Like, how do you keep this straight? Well, let's say I want to know what my last grocery amount was. I spent $13.44, so I had negative $1.09 left. And sometimes you will have a little bit, like, that is the only downfall with credit, is you can sometimes go over a little bit, but it's barely anything, really like a couple bucks. And it all evens out because, like I said, Discover does cashback bonuses, and I had $4 worth of cashback to use, so it made up for where I went off. As long as I'm within a few bucks, if I go over a couple bucks, it's all right. but just as long as I'm not going over like crazy. So this is really how I do it. I do this for everything. I wrote down every single expense I had for the month, and it makes a world of difference, guys, and it really helps tremendously. So that is my expense tracker. All right, so after I get my income, pay all my fixed expenses, and then take care of all my flexible spending, which as you can see, I was only over 79 cents, which is great. Then I can come and tackle how much am I going to put in my sinking funds. So obviously I did do my taxes. I just covered that up. So then I was able to put my money in emergency funds, in Christmas, and birthdays, health and medical, and giving. So whatever I have left after the flexible expenses, I will divvy that up amongst the sinking funds. I do believe in the zero-based budget. I think that's a Dave Ramsey thing. I've heard several people talk about it. And every dollar needs to have a purpose. It doesn't just need to be random money sitting up in your account. You need to make sure it has a purpose of where it's going, which is what is going on with these sinking funds. So that is my budget. This is my system. It has worked so great. So let me know in the comments, what do you guys think of my budgeting system? I love it. I am so thankful for it. Do you do a similar system? Do you need to get yourself on a budget? Did this help you? Do you do the cash thing? If you do the cash envelopes, okay, kudos to you. You got willpower. I don't have that much willpower. So yeah, let me know in the comments, what does your budgeting look like? I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'm thinking about coming back with a Christmas budget video because that's its own kind of thing. Like I budget Christmas out per person and all this stuff. If you're interested in seeing a Christmas budget video, let me know down in the comments. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching.